Hi players, bonjour from Paris, my name is Asafish and welcome to my channel Easy Board Games. Today we're going to have an explanatory playthrough of Fractal Beyond the Void. As always, I just want to remind you that this video is not here at all to give you any kind of strategical advices, it's just to show you as many cases as possible. Special thanks to the wonderful community in BGG that is always willing to answer questions, and a special thank you to Bernardo Ripe. I'm sorry for mispronouncing. Thank you so much for taking the time, checking the video, correcting any kind of mistakes. I really appreciate it. Ready to see Fractal in action? Let the easy playthrough begin. Alright guys, so I obviously skipped setup, but let's just see what we have over here. First of all, we have the different technologies, okay, the military and the civil technologies. We have the different action cards. We have artifacts. Over here we have, of course, our main board with the different obstacles, anomalies, singularity, the living galaxies, the living storms, and so on. We have over here the home base of the blue player and the home base of the yellow player. Over here we have the two objective cards. This is of the first age and this is of the second age. And let's dive in directly to the gameplay itself. Now at the beginning of each cycle we're going to have an income phase. Now right now, and later of course it's going to change, we're going to gain the number of credits indicated on our productive track. So this is this one right over here, and that means that the blue player and the yellow player are going to receive 3 credits. Now let's dive into the actions that the blue player is going to take. This is Zingo or Zingu, or I'm not so sure how to pronounce it, the true hive. And his starting colony was a military colony. That we'll talk about a little bit later as well. Now over here we can see that we have 4 basic actions, and here we have 2 special actions. One of them is the government action, and the other one is to play an action card. So when we want to do an action, and let's say that the blue player right now is going to do the advance action, we'll need to slide this token up, and here we have a small reminder that we need to pay 1 credit. So let's pay this credit. From 3 we're going to have 2, and we're going to slide it up. Now we'll be able to move up to 2 units. This is indicated by the imperial track, and we'll be able to move each unit 1 sector, which is something that is indicated by the scientific track. So over here we can see that we have 4 units. 2 of these units are lightships and 2 of those are infantry. Now at the beginning of our specific game, the only units that will be able to go from 1 sector to another are space units. That means the lightships and the warships that will join our game a little bit later. Now each lightship will be able to carry with it 2 ground units. That means 2 infantry, 2 mechs, or a combination of the 2. So the first thing that the blue player will do with this advance action is to move this lightship with this infantry right over here, and also this lightship with this infantry right over here. Now when we're looking at the ability of this specific faction, we can see that we cannot recruit infantry. This is the iconography for infantry. But anytime we advance, just like we did, after finishing your movement, add 1 infantry to a sector with your units. So we're going to take 1 infantry from our supply, and we're going to add it either to this sector or to this one. So let's add this infantry to this sector right over here. Now another important thing is that the moment that you're moving into a sector with an obstacle, an anomaly, a living galaxy, or a singularity card, we need to immediately reveal it. So that was our first advance and this was our second, and now we're going to reveal it. So let's see what we have over here. This is a type of event. So this anomaly is called Obsidian Obelisk, and it says that if we have in this sector 1 lightship and 3 infantry, we'll be able to discard this 1 lightship in order to draw 2 of these artifact cards and choose 1 of them. So right now, of course, we're not meeting this condition, right? Because we don't have here 3 infantry. So this anomaly is going to stay right over here and is going to prevent from us to colonize it, for example. The second action that the blue player would like to do is to colonize. So again, let's pay 1 credit, and we're going to take this token up, and we're going to take 1 productive colony and we're going to put it over here. Now the reason I directly took a productive colony is because right over here, we can see that we have a symbol that indicates which kind of colonies we'll be able to have in this sector. Now, maybe during the game, we'll have different effects that will indicate different things, but right now, this is the only colony that we can put. So let's put it right over here. And basically, we've finished the turn of the blue player. So let's take these 2 tokens back down, and we're going to move to the yellow player. The yellow player's first action will be to recruit. So let's pay this 1 credit. We're going to move this up. And let's see what we can recruit. Right now, the yellow player will be able to recruit either 2 infantry, as we can see at the upper part of this space, or he will be able to recruit 1 lightship. For now, the yellow player would like to recruit 2 infantry. So we're going to take 2 infantry from our supply, and we're going to put it right over here. The second thing that he would like to do is to advance. So we're going to pay another credit, and we're going to move this token right over here. And we know that the yellow player can move up to 3 units. It's not going to be relevant, and you will see why. And also it can move only 1 sector away, just like the blue player. So the yellow player would like to take 1 lightship with 2 infantry and move over here. And we'll take these 2 infantry with this lightship and move over here. Now, basically, a unit that has finished its movement will not be able to move again in that specific turn. And this is why, although the yellow player can move up to 3 units, we don't have here the possibility to move again. So now that we have moved right over here, we have an event, right? This obstacle. So let's see what do we have right over here. This obstacle is called the Great Incursion, and it says that we can remove this obstacle if we have here 1 mech, but this is not the case. Or if we have here 2 infantry, we can remove these 2 infantry. That means to put them back in our supply in order to get rid of this obstacle, and also we're going to gain 1 credit. So the yellow player would like to do this, okay? He's going to take these 2 infantry and put it back in the supply. For this, as a bonus, he's going to gain 1 credit. Let's put this obstacle right over here. And also, since this is Exodian, the Wandering Alliance, we can see that we have here some sort of a special power. And it says that when you resolve an obstacle using units, just like we saw, including when you remove them, right? Receive all available rewards on that card. Now, unfortunately for the yellow player, there was only 1 reward on this card and we already took it, so it's not going to make a huge difference. So now we have resolved these 2 actions. Let's slide these tokens back, and we're going back to the blue player. The first action that the blue player is going to do is to advance again. So let's pay our last credit, slide this over, and what we're going to do is to take this lightship with 1 infantry, and we're going to move right over here to this hexagon that contains a living galaxy. So we're going to move right over here, and let's see which kind of living galaxy we have over here. This living galaxy is called Precursor Key. And we have here a few symbols, so let's understand what does it mean. This symbol that we can see at the top is a block movement. When entering this sector, units end their movement immediately. When leaving the sector, units can only move to a distance of 1 sector. So it doesn't really bother us because in any case we finished our movement, and in any case right now we can move only 1 sector away, but it's something that might interfere us a little bit later. Also, we can see here that we have something that will help us in the next income phase. So in the next income phase, if we're going to have here a lightship, we're going to earn 1 influence, but we're going to see it a little bit later. Now, since we just finished to do our advance, again, we're going to look at the ability that we have here, the swarm, and we're going to take 1 infantry from our supply, and we're going to put it in a sector that already has our units, which is this one right over here. Now, we do see that we have here the conditions in order to get rid of this anomaly, because we have here 3 infantry, and we have here a lightship. So in order to resolve this anomaly, we're going to remove our lightship, right? We're going to put it right over here in our supply. And that will allow us, first of all, to take out this anomaly, right? We're going to put it right over here next to our board. And also it will allow us to draw 2 of these artifact cards and to choose 1 of them. So I have chosen this artifact that is called Inferior Civilization. And it says immediately banish one of your imperial colonies from your empire board. If you don't have one, banish any other colonies instead. First of all, let's put our artifact right over here. And to banish something means to completely take out from the game. That means you can put it back in the box. So this is our empire board, right? And we're going to banish this imperial colony. And that means a couple of things. First of all, immediately that means that we're going to receive this bonus right over here, this one. And that means 1 influence. And also without the need to colonize with this specific colony, we'll be able to move up to 3 different units when we'll make the next advance. So this colony is going to go out from the game. And now we're going to move on to the second action of the blue player. So the blue player would like to colonize right now. So again, in our specific case of this game, we'll be able to colonize only if we have infantry in that specific sector, because only the infantry has this ability that is called colonize. So this is great, right? Because we have here infantry, and we can see that we have 2 possibilities to put colonies over here. One of them is the scientific one, and the other one is the military one. Now the blue player would like to take this action, but we don't have here any more credits. So what we need to do is to deplete a token. Now when we're depleting a token, that means we're going to turn it to the other side and make sure that you're going to have it with number 2 at the top. Now, in general, when you have a depleted token, you cannot take this action anymore, even if later I'm going to earn some credits or something like that. That is it for this cycle. At the end of the cycle, we're going to see what's going to happen, because we're going to pay influence in order to turn this one to the other side again. Now we need to decide if we want to take the scientific colony or the military one. And I think that I'm going to take a military colony, and let's put it right over here. And that means something over here. So we have revealed this icon that, if you can see, is the same icon that we have right over here. So that means that we're going to take one of our tactic cards and we're going to replace the basic version of it with an elite version of it. So if you can see right over here at the top, it says elite and then the name of the tactic cards. So I'm going to choose the ground assault tactic cards, and I'm going to replace it with the same card but with its elite version. So let's put all our tactics cards right over here, and we're going to move on. Now, since we had here 2 actions, we're going to move back to the yellow player. The first thing that the yellow player is going to do is to colonize. So we're going to pay 1 credit. Let's push this one up, and we're going to take a productive colony, and we're going to put it right over here, right? This is the only kind of colony for now that we can put in this sector. And the second action that the yellow player is going to do is to do a research. So again, since we don't have credit, we'll need to deplete this token. I'm going to put it on the other side with number 2 at the top. And when we're doing research, we can put a number of science tokens on one of the technologies. Now over here, we can see that we have only 1 science token that will be available for us. So we have a few possibilities. Either we're going to take this science token and we're going to put it on one of the technologies that requires only 1 science token, as we can see here, here, or here. And that means that we have researched this technology very quickly and we can acquire it immediately. Or we can put this science token on one of these cards that actually requires, for example, 2 science tokens. And that means that this is a process. So the next time that we're going to do the research action, if we're going to put another scientific token, for example, over here on this card, let's say that we already had one, then it means that we're meeting the requirement, right? We're going to have 2 scientific tokens, and it means that we have researched this technology and we can take it. So the yellow player is going to research this one right over here, this military technology. Now, since it requires only 1 science token, that means that the yellow player is going to acquire it immediately. So we're going to take it, pay attention not to flip face up the next technology card. And the technology that the yellow player has just researched is the subkinetic rifles. And it says that during battle, improve your ground assault tactic. So this is something, of course, that we'll see during battle. Let's put this technology right over here next to his board. And we basically finished the turn of the yellow player, going back to the blue player. First of all, he's going to choose one of the cards. It doesn't really matter right now which one because he's going to play it face down. So let's just say for the fun of it that he's going to take this card, for example. He's going to play it face down, and that means that he's going to have one more influence. On top of that, whenever we play an action card face down, we can do something that is called an insight. So when we're doing insight, we can choose one of the following three. Either we're going to draw 3 cards from any deck and choose to return each of those cards either to the top or bottom of that deck in any order of our choice. So it can be, for example, one of the artifact cards, or it can be one of the action cards that we can see right over here. The second option is to look at all face-down technologies in one single technology slot. So for example, the blue player can look at these technologies that are facing down, or this in any slot of either a military technology or a civil technology. And the third option is to look at a single face-down component. A face-down component can be one of the living galaxies, can be the singularity card, can be either the anomaly or the obstacle cards. So what the blue player will decide to do is to look at the singularity card that we can see right over here. So he's going to flip it face up, and of course it's going to be hidden from the other player or players. And he's going to put it afterwards face down. So I'm not going to ruin the surprise for you of what you have seen in this singularity card. And this, of course, is giving you a small hint of what he might do a little bit later on. And immediately we need to replenish these action cards. The second action that he will do, so first of all, let us do this, is to play the government action. So when we're doing the government action, we need to go over here and see what is that specific effect. And it says that for each 3 influence, remove one of your infantry to gain 2 influence, or add 1 infantry to a sector with your units instead. So we can see that we have right now 3 influence, and that means that it will be triggered 1 time. If, for example, we would have had a 9 influence, we would have been able to trigger this ability 3 times. So now we need to ask ourselves, what do we want to do? And I think that we'll just add 1 infantry. So let's take 1 infantry and add it right over here to this sector. We finish the blue player's turn. Pay attention not to take this one down, just to remind us that we already did it. This one we can take back. Moving on to the yellow player. Now, one thing that I see that I didn't do correctly is that we have over here something that is permanent, and it says that anytime you resolve an obstacle or an anomaly, you need to gain 1 influence. So since we over here did resolve this obstacle, we're going to receive 1 influence. So right now we're going to have 3. So the yellow player is going to do something very similar to what the blue player did. He's going to play one of these cards. Now, again, of course, there is here a strategy. What do we want to take in order for the other players not to use? But here, I'm just going to show you as many things as possible. So let's just get rid of this card right over here, face down, in order to receive 1 influence. And also, he will decide to take a look at all the face down military technology cards that we can see in this slot. He's going to flip them face up, of course, again, hidden from the blue player. He's going to see what do we have over here, and he's going to put them back, of course, in the same order. That means that the card that is going to cost 5 is going to be on top of the card that costs 7, and he's going to put them back in the same slot. So let's replenish one right immediately. And now the second thing that the yellow player is going to do is play the government action. And it says that for each 4 influence, trigger the leftmost revealed colonization bonus from your empire board. Each bonus can only be triggered once. So right now, the only bonus that is revealed to us is this one right over here. And that means that the yellow player is going to receive 1 influence. So again, maybe it was not the best strategic move that the yellow player could have taken, but at least we saw another thing. We finished these two actions and we're going back to the blue player. The blue player would like to research a technology also, but since he doesn't have any credits, he will need to deplete this token right over here. So he's going to take one of these science tokens, right? We can have only one right now. And he's going to research this technology right over here, this civil technology. And since the requirement is only one, he's going to obtain it immediately. This technology is called orbital colony. And it says during action phase, you can colonize non-habitable sectors with non-productive colonies. So let's put this technology first of all right over here. And it means that if you can see right now, we have here a few sectors that are inhabitable, okay? That means that we cannot put over here a colony unless we have this kind of technology, for example. So that was the first action that the blue player has taken. And the second action is to play another action card facing down in order to take one more influence. So let's take this one right over here. He's going to play it face down. We're going to immediately take another card to put in its place. And the blue player is going to have one more influence. And I almost forgot that he is allowed to do another insight. Actually, I should have done it before taking another card from the action cards pile, because that would have allowed him to manipulate a little bit this deck, but it doesn't matter, because in any case, what he would like to do is to check this face down component right over here. And this is the obstacle. So he's going to take it, going to read what it is, if it's good for him to go there or not. And he's going to put it again face down. Now pay attention that since the blue player now played his second action card, his turn is going to end immediately. And of course, he will not be able to take any more actions in this cycle. So we're going to move back to the yellow player. The yellow player would like to recruit again. So since he doesn't have credits, we're going to deplete this token. So again, with number 2 up. And right now, he would like to recruit actually a lightship. So we're going to take this lightship from the supply, and he would like to recruit this one right over here. As the second action, he would like to play his second action card. So let's put it right over here, and we can actually move it to the other side, which is something that I forgot to do with the blue player. I apologize. And he's going to take this card right over here and play it face up. This action card is called Recruitment Decree, and it says you may add 1 infantry to each sector with your colonies. So this is awesome because it basically allows the yellow player to recruit 1 infantry right over here and another one over here. So we're going to take 2 infantry from the yellow player's supply, and we're going to add 1 over here and another one over here. Now, of course, we're going to refill before everything another card. And because this was the second action card that the yellow player has played, his turn is also going to end immediately. He's passing, which leads to the end of the first cycle. The next phase that we're going to have is a conflict phase, but we don't have here contested hexagons, so we're not going to see at the end of this cycle a battle. So we're going to skip this one, and we're going to go directly to the end of the cycle. So the first step in the end of the cycle is the prestige check, and that means that we're going to gain 1 influence for each opponent with fewer battle medals than you. But right now, we don't have any of those. The next one is the Utopian Reward, which is something that we're going to resolve if someone would have controlled this hexagon with a singularity card. After that, we're going to have Cleanup. So every technology card that we had face down, we're going to now flip face up. So we can do this and also this. We will also discard all the action cards and replenish the action pool. So all the action cards that were next to the players, for example, we can discard, and also all the action cards that were in display right over here. And we're going to draw new 4 action cards. And then we need to remove invalid blockade and faction tokens, which is something that we don't have. And after that, we're going to have something that is called depletion upkeep. So this is something that we have to do when we have depleted tokens. So let's start with the blue player. We see that we have here 2 depleted tokens, with the value 2 at the moment. And some different effects will be able to increase or reduce the value that we can see right over here. So here we can see that we need to pay 4 influence in order to flip again these tokens to their normal side, let's call it that way. And we do have here 4 influence. So this is something that we have to spend. So now we're going to have 0 influence, but these 2 tokens will be able to be played in the next cycle. Now, if we don't have enough, so let's say that, for example, we had 3, okay, and we had these 2 tokens on their depleted side. So now we need to take a decision which of these tokens we would like to flip to the normal side. So we would have spent 2 influence and then flip one of them to the other side. I'm not so sure according to the rules or what I saw in the community of BGG. According to the rules, it says that even if you have some surplus of influence, you'll have to lose all of it. But I saw in the communities also that they say that you need to keep the surplus that you have on the number itself. So you're not going to lose this influence. But in any case, this is not our case, since now we have 0 and all the tokens on their normal side. The same thing I'm going to do for the yellow player, so these 2 are totally normal. And here we can see that we have 5 influence, so we're going to drop it down to 1. And we're going to flip these 2 tokens to their normal side. The next thing that we need to do is to determine who is going to be the first player. So this is something that I forgot to do, because the first player that is passing will take this first player token and going to flip it to the other side, to the watcher side. Okay, so basically it was the blue player that passed first, right? He was the one that played the 2 action cards first. He's going to keep this first player token on the watcher side. And now the watcher selects a player to give the watcher token to first player side up. So again, I'm not so sure if he can select himself in this case, which is actually pretty normal for me because he passed first, but maybe I'm just taking it from other games. But just for the kicks of it, let's say that the blue player is going to give this first player token to the yellow player. And the last thing that we need to do in the end of the cycle is to advance with our cube to number 2 to indicate that we have the second cycle. And that is it for the first cycle, and we're going to move on to the income phase of the second cycle. For the blue player, we're going to start with taking credits, and we can see that right now he has 4 credits available for him to take. So from 0, we will go to 4. Also, we can see that he controls this token right over here, right? That was a living galaxy. He does have here a light ship, and that means that he will be able to take 1 influence. So from 0, we're going to move to 1 influence. For the yellow player, we're only going to take 4 credits. So from 0, we're going to go up to 4. And immediately we're going to continue to the action phase, starting with the yellow player. The yellow player would like to do the advance action. So we're going to pay 1 credit. From 4, we're going to go down to 3. And he's going to do 2 things. So first of all, he's going to move this lightship with this infantry right over here, right? Because he would like to later colonize it. And also we're going to move this lightship with these 2 infantry right over here to this living galaxy. So immediately we need to resolve this living galaxy. Let's see what we have over here. We have here a wormhole. So when we have a wormhole, basically it says that this hexagon right over here will be always considered adjacent to hexagons that have this kind of icon with them. In our case, it means that every hexagon that is in the color of green is going to be considered adjacent to this hexagon right over here because we have this living galaxy. The second action that the yellow player would like to do is to colonize. So again, we're going to pay 1 credit. And over here, we can put one of the 2 colonies, either an imperial one or a scientific one. So the yellow player would like to put actually the scientific colony. So let's put it right over here. And those were the 2 actions of the yellow player. Moving on to the blue player. The blue player would like to recruit. So let's pay 1 credit. And now we can see that we have a few more options. We can recruit either 2 lightships, we can recruit a warship, or we can recruit one mech. So the blue player would like to bring some heavy guns into this game, and he's going to recruit a warship. So we're going to take this warship right over here with its standee, and we're going to put it right over here. The second thing that the blue player would like to do is to advance. So we're going to pay 1 credit, and we're going to take this warship with the 3 infantry, right? Because it can transport 3 ground units, and they're going to move right over here. So let's do this movement. So I think that the blue player would like also to move this lightship with 1 infantry right over here. So now we have 2 events, right? We have the anomaly card over here, and we have the singularity. Let's start with the anomaly card first. This anomaly card is called Hostile Life Forms. And it says that if we have here 2 infantries and we have 2 science tokens on one of the technologies, we can remove those science technologies in order to again take 2 artifacts and choose one of them. Since this is something that right now the blue player doesn't have, we will not be able to resolve this anomaly. And let's move on to the singularity card. So this singularity card is called Void Throne, and it says that at the end of the cycle, you may spend 1 influence to gain either 1 military victory point, or to place 1 non-productive colony on this sector, ignoring restrictions. So this is awesome because that means that we'll be able to have here quite a lot of colonies. So not bad at all. Now I remind you that the blue player has the swarm ability, right? So we'll be able to take 1 infantry and add it to any one of the sectors that already has some units. So I think that the blue player would like to put this infantry right over here. We finished with the turn of the blue player and moving on to the yellow player. So the first action that the yellow player is going to do will be to recruit. So he's going to spend 1 credit, and he's going to put these 2 infantry right over here. Obviously here we cannot put it because we don't have any kind of colony. The second action that the yellow player would like to do is the advance. So we're going to spend another time 1 credit. Wow, those credits go really quickly. So the first movement that he would like to do is to take this lightship with 2 infantry and move over here. And since we entered the hexagon with an event, we need to resolve it immediately. So let's see what do we have over here with this obstacle. It is called Suppress the Riot. Either at this point we already have 2 already researched technologies. In this case, our reward will be to have 1 more infantry, or we need to remove 1 infantry from this hexagon. So I think that the yellow player, just again to advance a little bit, will remove 1 infantry. So let's take this one and put it back in the supply. It means that this obstacle has been removed and we can put it right over here. And don't forget that it's going to trigger this ability right over here. Anytime that you resolve an obstacle or an anomaly, gain 1 influence. So from 1, we're going to have now 2. And don't forget that it was only the first movement, and now we can do the second one. So the second movement that we're going to do is to take this lightship and this infantry and move it right over here. And again, we're going to repeat it because we're having this obstacle right over here that is called Keepers of Knowledge. So this obstacle says that we have 2 options. Either we're going to lose 2 influence in order to gain 2 research tokens and put them on one of the technologies, or we can remove 1 infantry from this place. I think that what we're going to do is the first option, and that is to lose 2 influence. So from 2, we're going to go down to 0. And that means a few things. First of all, we have resolved this obstacle. So according to, again, this ability right over here, we're going to regain 1 influence, so not so bad. And also our reward from this obstacle is to take 2 of these science tokens, and we can put them on one of the technologies that we have over here. Now pay attention that even though I have right now 2 science tokens and I can put them on one of the technologies that requires only 2 science tokens, it does not mean that we have researched it and we can take it. In order to take that technology, we will need to perform a research action. So I think that the yellow player is actually going to try and advance with the research of this military technology right over here. So let's put one token and the second one. And that is it for the yellow player. Moving back to the blue player. The first thing that the blue player would like to do is to colonize. So let's pay 1 credit and push this one up. And he's going to take a scientific colony and he's going to put it right over here. It is true that it is non-habitable, but I remind you that we have this orbital colony technology that allows us to put a colony as long as it's not a productive colony. So far so good. Let's put this one right over here. And the second action that he would like to do is the research. So let's pay another credit. And we're going to take 2 of these science tokens and we're going to put them on a certain technology. Now the blue player doesn't really care about the technology right now. He's going to put it just for the show. He's going to put it right over here. But now at the end of his action, we can go back to this event right over here. And now we do have the right conditions, okay? That means that we do have here 2 infantry. We have here even more. And we're going to remove the 2 science tokens that we have put on this specific technology back to our supply. But that means that we have resolved right now this event that was an anomaly. So again, this anomaly that is called hostile life forms means that when we resolve it, we can take 2 artifacts and choose one of them. So let's draw 2 artifacts. The first one is the abandoned colony, which immediately allows us to take 2 influence and to add 2 science tokens to one of the technologies, which is kind of great for us. And the second artifact that is called defense algorithm also immediately tells us to replace our orbital defense tactic card with its elite version. So we already saw it before, and this is something that we can do it with another card. If we already upgraded it, we can replace any other tactic cards with its elite version instead. So I think that the blue player would actually like to have a little bit more influence. So he's going to take the abandoned colony artifact. So immediately we're going to have 3 influence and not only 1. And also we're going to take these 2 science tokens and we're going to start research this technology right over here. We finished with the blue player and we're going to go back to the yellow player. The first thing that the yellow player would like to do is to colonize. So we're going to flip this token to its depleted side, since we don't have here credits, of course. And we'll be able to colonize either this place right over here or this one right over here. And I think that the yellow player would like to put right over here an imperial colony. So let's take this one from the board. And we can see that we have revealed this icon right over here. This icon means that we're going to immediately receive 2 influence. So from 1, we're going to have 3. And let's put this colony right over here. The second action that the yellow player would like to do is to advance. So again, we'll need to deplete this token right over here. And as a reminder, now we can move 2 hexagons, right? Because this symbol is revealed, and up to 4 different units. So the first movement will be this lightship and infantry 1, 2. And the second one will be with this lightship and infantry 1 right over here. Now we can see that we have a contested hexagon, and we'll talk about the different things that we have there in a few more minutes. That is it for the yellow player. Let's move back to the blue player. Now guys, before we continue, I would like to explain something about the concept of being pinned down. Now this is something that space units create in contested hexagons. So in this situation, for example, we're going to have 2 of the lightships of the yellow player. Now to determine the pin down, for example, for the yellow player, he's going to see which opponent has the most space units in this contested hexagon. Obviously, since this is only 2 players, it's going to be the blue player, and there is 1 space unit right over here. And that means that 1 lightship of the yellow player is going to be pinned down. That means that it will not be able to move. So the yellow player will be able in another move to take 1 lightship, of course with the 2 infantry there is no problem, and to go out from this hexagon. On the other side, the blue player will not be able to go out from this sector because his ship is being pinned down by another lightship of the yellow player. So just to make sure that we understand, if this ship, for example, of the blue player would have been over here, both of the yellow players' light ships would have been pinned down, and also of the blue players. If the blue player would have had another ship over here in this hexagon, that means that one of the ships, it's up to the blue player to decide, that will not be pinned down, that means can move to another sector, but both of the light ships of the yellow player would have been pinned down. The first thing that the blue player would like to do is to colonize, so we don't have here any more credits, we need to deplete this token. And we have the possibility to colonize right over here. So the blue player would like to put his last military colony. So let's take this one and put it right over here. And we can see that the symbol that we have revealed over here allows us to take this card and flip it from its normal side to the other side, which is the upgraded side. So this elite side is going to give us another option that we'll see soon enough with the combat. The second thing that the blue player would like to do is to recruit. So let's flip this token also to its depleted side, and we'll be able to recruit either 2 mechs or 3 light ships or another warship. We have here a few things that we'll be able to do. So I think that the blue player would actually like to recruit 2 mechs. So we're going to take these 2 mechs from the supply. We're going to put one of them right over here, and we're going to put the second one over here, of course, to be closer. Those were the 2 actions of the blue player. Going back to the yellow player. The yellow player is first of all going to play an action card. So he really likes this action card that is called Sovereign Tribute, and it says gain 1 influence for each type of colony you have on the board. So right now on the board we have 3 types of colonies, right? We have the productive one, we have the imperial one, and we have the scientific one. So the yellow player is going to receive 3 influence. From 3 it's going to go to 6, not bad at all. And it says over here move 1 living storm. So first of all, let's play this card over here, and we're going to draw a new one. And when we need to move a living storm, which is one of these 2 tokens that we have right now, we need to move it to 1 adjacent intersection between the hexes, and then we can turn it however we would like. So the yellow player is going to try and be a little bit sneaky, and he's going to move this living storm from this location right over here to this one right over here. And he's orientated in a way that is blocking the blue player from moving over here, and also blocking the blue player from coming over here. So he really isolated this hexagon that was pretty scary for the yellow player, and that was a pretty good move. Don't mind if I do. The second action that the yellow player would like to take is his government action. So it's not going to give him a lot, but hey, it's another action that he can do. So again, we can see that for each 4 influence, trigger the leftmost revealed colonization bonus from your empire board. Each bonus can only be triggered once. So here we can see that we have only this one right over here, and that means that the yellow player is going to have 1 more influence. Going back to the blue player, the first action that he would like to do is his government action. So again, for each 3 influence, remove 1 of your infantry to gain 2 influence, or add 1 infantry to a sector with your units instead. So we have here 2 options, and I think that because we can do it only 1 time, the blue player will try to get some advantage and adding 1 infantry right over here to this sector. So we're going to take 1 infantry from his supply, and we're going to put it right over here. The second action that he would like to do is to play an action card. He's going to take this one right over here that is called Informant Network, and he's going to play it face up. So gain 1 influence and 1 science token for each contested sector with your units. So we have 1 contested sector with our units, it's right over here, and we're going to receive for it 1 influence and also 1 science token that we'll be able to put on one of the technologies. I think that we're going to try and do this one right over here. It's going to bring us a little bit closer for researching this technology. The yellow player will first of all deplete the research token in order to take 2 science tokens and put them right over here on this military technology. So he already has 4 of these science tokens. Also, if you turn them to the other side, we can see that we have here 3. So basically we can take these 2 back and have a little bit less tokens on the technology card. The second action that he would like to do is to recruit. So let's deplete this token as well. And he's going to recruit 1 lightship. So let's take it from our supply. And he's going to put it in this hexagon right over here. Already I can see that I forgot to refill here the action card. So let's put one right over here. The blue player's first action will be to advance. So let's deplete this token. And we can see that the blue player can move up to 2 sectors with each unit that he moves. So he's going to take his warship that, as we remember, can carry with it, can transport with it 3 units. And he's going to move this mech and 2 infantry to this hexagon right over here. Pay attention that because we have here the living storm token, we'll not be able to go directly. So we'll need to pass through this hexagon. So we're going to take this warship and move over here, right? That was 1, 2, and it transported with it the mech and the 2 infantry. So right now we have a second contested hexagon that we can see right over here. And of course, if the blue player would have thought about it, this is so cool that I can blame someone else, then the action card that we played in the last turn would have been a bit more effective, but let's leave it at that. The second action that the blue player would like to do is to play his second action card, and he would like to play it face down. So let's take this card, for example, and let's immediately refill it before I'm forgetting. He's going to play it face down, and that means that he's going to receive 1 influence. And again, he will be able to do the insight. I don't know why I'm such in a hurry to replenish these cards over here, but I guess it's super important for me. But again, guys, this is something that you're going to do only after you have executed the insight. So for the insight, he's going to draw 3 cards from the artifact deck. So we have here 3, and he's going to choose what to do with them. So after choosing, he decided to take these 2 cards and to put them at the bottom of the deck. And the last artifact card that he really hopes to get a little bit later, he's going to put at the top of the deck. Now, since he performed his second action card, he's going to finish his turn immediately. He's going to take the first player token and he's going to put it on the Watcher side at his possession. The yellow player doesn't have much more to do, so basically he can only play his second action card. So let's see how he would like to play it. So he's going to take this card right over here that is called Colony Prosperity. And it says to gain 1 influence if you have at least 1 imperial colony. So we can see that we have 2 of those, so we can gain this 1 influence. From 7, it's going to go up to 8. And also gain 2 science if you have at least 1 scientific colony. We can see that we have it right over here. So let's play this card next to the board. And he's going to receive 2 science tokens to put on one of the technologies. So I think that the yellow player would like to plan a little bit ahead, and he's going to put these 2 science tokens right over here. Now again, pay attention that even though we have 2 science tokens and this is the requirement of this technology, since he didn't perform the research action, he will not be able to take this technology into his possession. Now, since he played the 2 action cards, that means that he passed also, just like the blue player, and we basically finished the action phase, moving on to the conflict phase. So the first thing that we need to do in the conflict phase is that the Watcher recruits 1 infantry or 1 lightship for free, or perform a single movement order. So the Watcher, as we remember, is the blue player, right? Because he passed first. So I think that the blue player would like to recruit 1 of his lightships. So we're going to take it from its supply, and we can either put it here or here. I mean, you can put it also in the other places where you have colonies, but I think that this will benefit him the most. And he would like to play this lightship right over here on this sector. Now, place a battle medal on each contested sector. So we're going to take 2 of these battle medals right over here. And we have two contested sectors, so we're going to have two combats, of course. One we're going to put right over here, and the second one we're going to put right over here. Now we'll need to resolve battles in every sector with a battle medal. So obviously, these two contested sectors, we're going to resolve now the combat. So the first thing that we're going to do when we need to resolve a battle is to do the battle preparation. And in this case, each player is going to gather their valid tactic cards in their hand. So we know that we have a few of these tactic cards, but not all of them are going to be valid to play. What does it mean, a valid tactic card? It means that we have a card that will be able to play in that specific combat. So for example, the card Planetary Strikes is not going to be a valid card when we're looking at this sector, because we can see that it required to have at least one warship in the contested hexagon. So for this battle specifically, let's say that we're going to resolve this one first, the blue player will not be able to take the Planetary Strike into his hands. One small thing that I forgot before we're going to start the battle is the ability of the blue player, the swarm, which is that after finishing your movement, add one infantry to a sector with your units. So we're going to take the last infantry that the blue player has in its supply, and we can add it to any one of these sectors. I think that in this case, he would like to put it over here in this sector. Now, back to the battle. So the blue player has only 5 cards that he will be able to use, and those are the cards that he's going to take into his hands. The yellow player also has 5 cards that he will be able to use in this hexagon, so he's going to take these cards into his hands. Now, the second thing that we need to do is to choose and resolve tactic cards. So in this case, each player is going to choose one of their tactic cards, and simultaneously we're going to put it on the table and reveal them. So we're going to have the yellow player playing the Orbital Assault, and we're going to have the blue player playing the Elite Ground Assault. So they opened both of the cards together. Now let's understand how we're going to resolve them. The first thing that we need to do is to understand which card will be resolved first, and that is according to the initiative number that we can see at the top left corner of each card. The card with a lower initiative will be resolved first, and if we have a tie between the cards, they're going to be resolved simultaneously. So the yellow player, as we can see, has 2 options. One of them is a valid option because we do see that we have here 2 lightships, and the second one is not valid because the yellow player does not have here 3 lightships. So now the yellow player is going to resolve this icon right over here. That is a direct damage that says deal 1 damage to a unit of your choice. So the yellow player now can choose one of the units of the blue player and basically take it out from the board, right? It's going to go back to the supply of the blue player. And he's going to choose the lightship of the blue player, as we can see right over here. Now it's the turn of the blue player to resolve his card, this Elite Ground Assault. And we can see that we have here 2 things, but we don't really have an option over here. We have to choose the possibility that has the most units. In this case, it means that we will not be able to resolve this, because here we can see that it requires only 1 infantry. But because we have more than that, we have 4, we'll need to go to the second option. That is when you have 2 infantry, you're going to do an indirect damage. That means that the player taking the damage chooses one of their units to suffer 1 damage. And then we have 2 other icons that is called retreat damage. The player taking the damage chooses one of their units to suffer 1 retreat. So we'll talk about retreat in just a few more seconds. First of all, the yellow player will need to choose 2 of his units to take 1 damage. That means to go out from the board. And he's going to choose the 2 infantry that we can see right over here, and he's going to put it back in his supply. So what does retreat means? When one of your units is forced to retreat, move it to the adjacent sector with no battle medals and no enemy units or colonies, and nearest to any of your units or colonies. If there is more than 1 sector the unit can move to, the player dealing the damage chooses to which it goes. So because we have 2 of these icons, the yellow player will have to retreat with both of his lightships, and he will not be able to retreat over here, right? Because this is a contested hexagon, there is a battle medal right over here. And we can see that we don't have other hexagons that we can go to with the units or with colonies. And here it says that we'll need to go to the nearest to any of your units or colonies. So if I got it right, we'll have to move over here because this will be the nearest to one of our colonies. So the yellow player will just move back 2 of his lightships over here. This is the closest one to the colonies because over here we have this live storm he will not be able to move to, and the other hexagons are not relevant. So now, after resolving these 2 cards, we can see that this hexagon is not contested anymore, right? Because we don't have here any other enemies for the blue player, right? We have here only one faction, and that is the blue player. So, because the blue player has won the combat, he's going to take this medal and he's going to put it in his possession. Now we're going to move to the second contested hexagon right over here, and we're going to have the same procedure. So let's prepare the battle. Let each player take the cards that are going to be valid for him to play. In this case, the yellow player has decided to play the ground assault card, and the blue player has decided to play the planetary strike. So let's see how we're going to resolve it. We can see that the initiative of the blue player is going to be 2, and the ground assault of the yellow player is going to be 3. But we can see that with this card of the yellow player, we're having the initiative of flanking and ground assault is reduced by 1. That means that now both of the cards has the initiative of 2. So we're going to resolve it simultaneously. So let's start with the blue player. Since he's going to use this option, because we don't have here 2 lightships, we're going to have one massive damage and one indirect damage. So he's going to take out this lightship right over here. And for the indirect damage, it doesn't really matter which one is going to die because they are the same. Let's put them right over here just for now. Now it's time for the yellow player to resolve its card, right? Because it's simultaneously, they're doing it at the same time. And here we have another interesting thing. So the yellow player will be able to only take the first option, right? Because there are only 2 infantries and not 3. So that will cause the blue player to retreat damage. But at the same time, we have this technology card that is called Subkinetic Rifles. And it says that during the battle, improve your ground assault tactics. So since this is the ground assault tactic card that the yellow player has played, we're going to go to the bottom part of the card, and because they're resolving the cards simultaneously, we still have 2 of this infantry that are in the contested hexagon. So that means that the yellow player, on top of the normal result that we can see at the upper part of the card, will be able to do 1 indirect damage and also another retreat damage. So now let's start with the damage, and since this is an indirect damage, the blue player is going to decide who will take this damage. So now I want to show you something nice with the mech, and we can see that he has resist 1. He will be able to take 1 damage before actually being dead completely. So we're just going to tilt this unit to the side to remind us that it's not dead yet, but it has taken 1 damage. So now basically we can remove these 2 units of the yellow player, but also don't forget that the yellow player has caused 3 retreating damage to the blue player. So now what's going to happen is that the blue player will choose 3 of his units to retreat. And he will decide to retreat with actually the warship and also with the 2 infantry, leaving the 1 damaged mech over here. To tell you that it's the best decision, I don't know, we're here just to have fun and to learn the game. So now, since this hexagon is still contested, we're going to have a second round of playing tactic cards. In this case, the yellow player will decide to play the flanking card, and the blue player decides to play the heavy fire card. So we can see over here that the yellow player has the initiative of 4, actually the initiative of 3, because again, the yellow player has this card that is lowering the initiative of flanking by 1. And the blue player has the initiative of 2. So the blue player is going to actually act before the yellow player. So in this case, the blue player is going to cause 1 indirect damage and 1 retreat damage, but he doesn't need the retreat damage because only with the indirect damage, the yellow player will have to remove his infantry from the board back to his supply. Now, since right now in this hexagon we're going to have only 1 faction, that means that the blue player is the winner, and he's going to take this medal again to his possession. So right now he has already 2. Also, again, we can see that we don't have here any kind of colony, so we're not going to continue to the siege phase. But since this is something that I would really like to explain to you guys, let's take an hypothetical example. What would have happened if the yellow player would have had here a colony, okay? This is a scientific colony. If after the battle resolution, you're having 2 or more units in that sector containing an enemy colony, just like we have right now, you may besiege it. So we have 2 kinds of siege. The first one is raise. That means that we're going to remove the enemy colony and we're going to gain 1 military victory point. In this case, any type of unit can perform this raise. The other option that we have is to invade. If one of the units has the invade ability, like we can see with the infantry right now, we can replace this colony with the same type of colony from our empire board instead. And still, we're going to get 1 military victory point. So in this case, since we have here 4 infantry, so we do meet the 2 conditions. First of all, of having 2 or more units over here, and also the infantry do have the invade ability, we'll be able to take this one out, right? This is the scientific colony of the yellow player. It's going to go back to his empire board, and we're going to replace it with one of our own. And with that, we have concluded the conflict phase, moving on to the end of the cycle phase. So the first thing that is happening at the end of the cycle is the prestige check, and a player is going to have 1 influence for each opponent with fewer battle medals than that player. Since this is a 2-player game, the blue player has more medals only than 1 player, so he's going to have 1 influence. And from 5 influence, we're going to go up to 6. Then the Utopian reward resolve the effect indicated by the singularity card. So now, because the blue player is controlling this sector right over here with the singularity card, let's see what does it say. At the end of the cycle, you may spend 1 influence to gain 1 military victory or to place a non-productive colony on this sector, ignoring restrictions. So I think that the blue player would prefer to take 1 military victory point, and when we have something like that, we can see over here that we have a few dice with different categories. So this category right over here, it says military, and we're just going to turn this die to the number 1, and we're going to put it over here, indicating that the blue player has 1 military victory point. Next, we're going to have cleanup, so we'll need to flip all face down visible technologies. Since all the technologies are already facing up, we don't need to do here anything. Then we'll need to discard, and again, of course, I forgot to put here one of the cards, so let's say that I did it before. But in any case, we're going to discard all of these cards right over here, and we're going to put 4 new cards. And we can discard also the action cards that the other players have played. After that, we're going to go to the depletion upkeep. So let's start with the blue player, and we can see that we have 3 depleted tokens, right? But we can see that we have something a little bit special with this card right over here. Removing depletion from your advanced action costs 1 less influence. So that means that in order for us to flip this token of the advance to its normal side, we don't need to spend 2 influence, we're only going to spend 1. So let's spend this 1 influence, and we can turn this token to the other side. And for these 2 tokens, we'll need to pay 4 influence. So from 5, we're going to have 1. Let's flip these 2 tokens. And for the yellow player, we see that he took advantage of all of his influence because we have 4 depleted tokens and he does have 8 influence. So he's going to now have 0, but he will be able to flip to the normal side all of his action tokens. After that, determine the first player. So let's say that the yellow player is going to be the first player again in the next round, and advance the cycle marker. So we're going to take this cycle marker, and before we're actually going to the 3rd cycle, we have another phase between the 2nd and the 3rd cycle. So let's talk about it. In this phase that is called transition, the players will score victory points when they meet the conditions on the objective cards. So right now we have only 1 visible objective card, right? This is this one right over here. That is called Rebirth of the Empire. And let's start one by one. First of all, we're going to have 1 victory point for each battle medal that that player has. Since the yellow player has none, the blue player is going to score 2 of these Imperial victory points, right? Because he has 2 battle medals. So we're going to go over here to this category, right? Imperial. And from 0, we're going to have 2 victory points. Then for the productive victory points, each player that is controlling a living galaxy will receive 1 victory point. Over here, we can see that only the blue player is controlling sectors with those living galaxies. So the blue player is again going to score 2 productive victory points. So over here, from 0, we're going to go up to 2. The next thing that we have is the scientific victory points, and for each research technology that we already have, we're going to receive 1 victory point. So the blue player is going to have 1, and the yellow player, well, he also researched 1 technology, as you can see right over here. So from 0, he will have 1 victory point. The last category is the exploration victory points, and for every imperial colony that we have right now on the different hexagons, each player is going to receive that number of victory points. So we can see that the blue player has 0 of these colonies right now on the different hexagons. I remind you that the 1 imperial colony that he used, he actually banished from the game. But the yellow player on the other side has 2 of these colonies right over here. So we're going to go to the exploration part, and from 0, we're going to have 2 victory points right over here. And that's it. That concludes the transition phase, and we're going to continue now to the 3rd cycle. Now, basically, guys, the 3rd and 4th cycles are going to be exactly the same as we have seen so far. I don't think that we're going to see here something completely new, but I do want to talk to you about the next transition phase that we're going to have that will basically finish the game. So after we have resolved for the first time this card right over here for the victory points, we're going to reveal the second one, and they're going to be attached together. So now that we're revealing the second objective card, we can see that we have some text over here. This card is called Ancestral Legacy, and we can see that each player is now going to gain 2 victory points. Now, because it doesn't specify exactly which victory points, we're just going to take 2 of these tokens, and we're going to give 2 of them to each player. Now, during their turn, players may banish, that means again, remove completely from the game, these 2 victory points to gain 1 credit. Now, this is something that is of course optional, and if one of the players didn't do it, he's just going to have 2 more victory points for later. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put these 2 cards just like this, and that will basically make things a little bit more difficult, let's say, to score for the next time. So if until now on the first objective card it was enough to have 1 battle medal, as we can see right over here, in the next transition, again at the end of the game, we will receive 1 imperial victory point for each battle medal and 2 influence that we can see right over here. So 1 battle medal and 2 influence will be worth 1 victory point. So let's take another example. If in the first objective card we had 1 victory point for each living galaxy that we control, now we'll need to actually control 2 of these living galaxies for 1 victory point. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that now you understand a little bit better how Fractal Beyond the Void operates. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.